Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started. It's a quasi nice day out there. The temperature is definitely not freezing anymore, so that's a good thing for me. Hey, as you get started, make sure you put your company name and your core competency. Try to use 2 or 3 words in there to make it easy for us to remember who you are. You can always come back and say more stuff in the chat as you go along through the training session. But 2 or 3 words, something that just makes it easy for somebody to go, that's what you do. So, hey, before we get started, I just wanted to share a quick tip from my favorite book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. And I wanted to share the habit that relates to today's training on daily sales tasks, et cetera, that we can be doing. And habit number 3 is put first things first. And the idea is to make sure that you're not, I get people who talk sometimes about how hard they worked. And that's cool and all, but were you working on the right thing? And Stephen Covey, when he talks about in the habit 3, put first things first, he's saying, look at the stuff that has to get done and put that first thing first. There's another book out there titled The One Thing. And I love that line as well. It kind of goes in the same vein as the habit 3. But he talks about what's the one thing you could do today that if you did it would make everything else easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing you could do today that if you did it, it would make everything else easier or unnecessary? And I love that because I constantly have so much on my plate. And I look at it and go, well, what's the one thing I could do? Because I could be busy all day long. Any of us can. But if we begin to find those one things, or as Stephen Covey says, first things first, if we begin to find those and put them at the beginning of our day, then we're going to have a lot more success and a lot more progress towards where we want to go rather than just being busy, right? So we're going to dive into that. That was just a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. When you do, LinkedIn then pushes the word out further saying, hey, the training's live. Let's get rocking and rolling. Okay, let me get rid of my captions here and I'll come back. Thank you for engaging in the chat. Good morning, good afternoon to those of you putting it in there. Okay, and today we're going to be talking about daily tasks that are out there that I think you can get a lot done if you just focus on the first hour of your day and let the other 7 hours of your day kind of happen. So we'll talk about this in a minute. Mark Twain's got a great quote that says, if your job is to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if your job is to eat 2 frogs, eat the biggest one first. And I love that whole idea, right? It kind of goes with habit 3. It kind of goes with what's the one thing. It's this idea that the one frog, it's a kind of a miserable thing. You're like, man, my job's to eat a frog. Well, you might as well eat it first thing in the morning. Geez, I got to eat 2 frogs. Might as well eat the big one first. Then it gets downhill from there. And in sales, it's that same thing. Some of the tasks I'm going to talk about, we salespeople, and salespeople can be anybody. Business owners, small business owners, right? Business developers, capture people. It doesn't matter what your title is. If your job is to try to help the company get revenue, you're a salesperson. And, a lot of us like to say that everybody in the company is a salesperson, but there's some of us, our job is sales. And there are some tasks in sales that just are a little bit less exciting for us. Cold calling, I think, would be on the list of the least exciting thing for a salesperson. Going to a conference and hanging out at the barbecue with people after the event, that might be one of the most exciting things to do, or fun things, right? And then so in sales, when you think about what's the frog, it could be cold calling. And the idea is to do these first thing in the morning. And I try to teach this all the time, whether I'm training you here like on YouTube and LinkedIn, et cetera, or I'm working with my customers. It's like, pick your first thing and drive at it. I want you to avoid this thing I call constructive procrastination. A lot of other people call it constructive procrastination as well. And I heard that phrase, I think, the first time 20 plus years ago. And the idea of constructive procrastination is that you're working on stuff that's important, but it's not the frog. It's not the one thing, right? It's not the first things first. And so constructive procrastination is, well, I'll go, oh, my work area is not clean. Let me start cleaning up. It's really important I have a clean desk. It's like, yeah, but is that as important as making a phone call, right? And making a phone call is a frog. And so I want you to eat the frog first. And if you're here today to understand the value of prioritizing first things first, put eat the frog into the chat. Let me know that you're along for the ride and you can have fun with phrases like eat the frog. Shout out to Mark Twain there. So we're going to dive into today's training, speaking of eating the frog, about figuring out what our frog is. And I'm going to give you some examples in sales. You've got to figure out on your own day what you might push to the morning, which would be good. But I wanted to give you an idea of how you can begin to win more contracts, how you can have more success in your job and in your company if you plan that first hour of your day. I was in the Army, and it's always fun for me when somebody comes out of the military and they do a video about like 5 a.m. rising, right? All of us have been doing that. So we're all kind of used to that. A lot of us get up at 5 a.m. and work. We're not saying get up at 5 a.m. We're just saying when you get up, that's your 5 a.m. and try to do the most important things going forward. And if you do, you're going to have a lot more success. So I'm going to break up today's training into these 5 things that I want you to do in the morning, and I'll expand on them. The first one is tracking new RFIs. Second, engaging on LinkedIn. The third one, contact 5 new people. These are people you've never talked to before. The fourth one is contact 5 existing people you already have a relationship one level or another. And then the fifth one is respond to everything that you see in eBuy. And I'll talk about that and I'll expand on that. And you can use eBuy as a way of saying in contract vehicles. And I'll tell you what I mean. But if you do these 5 things, think about this. Like with my customers, I try to encourage them to do what I call agile business development. I'm an IT guy going all the way back. And so agile software development, et cetera, we do these daily stand-ups. And then daily stand-up, you say, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And do I have any hurdles? That's it. That's the idea of the meeting. It's supposed to be 15 minutes. But imagine on this, right? Tomorrow I report. It's like, what did you do yesterday? Well, I went and reviewed the RFIs. I found one that I think is a fit for us. I'm going to explore it more today. I engaged on LinkedIn. I engaged with a couple of people. I saw some interesting content, but one was an interesting one from the Army, and it was great. I started having a little back and forth, So you go down through these things. I contacted 5 people over in the Army, or 5 people who were have winning contracts at the Army, et cetera. If you did this is your first hour. What's the rest of your day going to be like? And so that's why I like this idea of trying to stack your morning with wins. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. This is what I know you can have. Even while we have some turmoil with 2025 and things are a little different than they were last year, we can still have success. We just keep looking at our process and constantly doing process improvement. That's what I'm here to help you do. If you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, please reach out, connect with me, especially if you're on YouTube. You must know this. I don't really go over there and engage much. I try to go over there, but come to LinkedIn. This is where we all are able to network, and you're able to meet so many other people. Like I have 37,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. If you come over here and you engage, you begin to get able to get interaction with them. I try to constantly put you together. So connect with me. Subscribe to the newsletter. We've got Government Contracting Success newsletter, constantly trying to put out good content on there. And then tomorrow's training is on how to find teaming partners. And so we'll talk about how do you identify small business and large business teaming partners, and then maybe how do you reach out to them to try to build a relationship. Make sure you click on the registration button and let us know that you're coming. Okay, and we're going to talk about frogs. So if you didn't do it, make sure you put in eat the frog in the chat. We're going to have a little fun. Oh, I want to congratulate the 100 Club members here. Let me put my face down at the bottom. These companies, out of 370,000 small businesses out there, these 157 plus companies are in the 100 Club. That means they have a score of 100 out of 100 on their federal visibility score. How visible are they to the federal buyer? How visible are you to the federal buyer? I just talked with somebody yesterday, and they've got a lot of good past performance and some other stuff. They're invisible to the federal buyer. That means the only time they're really going to be able to interact is when they knock on a door instead of federal buyers coming to you. Go to GovCon in a Box. Sorry, I got that little logo there. Let me do that. Go to govconinabox.com, and on there, you'll find a little link. You click it and you can check your own score for free. I've got the score. When you click on the score, I got guidance on what to do to improve your score. So go check that out. Maybe somebody will put that link for me in the chat, govconinabox.com. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Not like we haven't already been, right? The first task I want you to do in the morning, and I've got 20 minutes, so I want to kind of break this up in a good way. I want you to track new RFIs that are out there. And this should take you about 10 minutes. If you do this every morning, let me see. Actually, if I show you something here, yeah. I just put out a post this morning. Let me pull this guy up really quick. I just put out a post this morning where I talk about 1,079 RFIs are out there. This is like my favorite little splash screen. This is the biggest number I have seen since I've been doing this particular kind of post. A week ago it was 1,059, but usually it's 900 or 800. And this is huge, right? So I want you to be checking out RFIs that are out there, because when you respond to RFIs, whether you find them in SAM or you can go to GovCon in a Box, we have them in there and it's easy to find. When you start responding to RFIs, you get visibility. But in the morning, what I want you to do is to just find RFIs. Go into SAM. I showed 1,000, right? But that's 1,000 due in the next 30 days. If I look tomorrow and I said, just show me what was done in the last 24 hours, it'll be like 100 or so, maybe 50 to 100. And so it's very easy to manage within 10 minutes to just review what RFIs have dropped. The second thing is you can look at your contract vehicles. So if you've got GSA Mass or Seaport Next Gen or any of these contract vehicles, go into that portal every single day. Make sure you're looking at it. It takes 10 minutes just to make sure you're not missing anything. You're just browsing at this point in the morning. You're just browsing for a fit. So I like looking at the titles to find the ones that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. Let me come back to that. I could look at, if I wanted to, I could actually click on the description, or excuse me, on the title, and I will see a little description, but I never go further. I don't go into the PWS or anything just yet. And what I'm trying to do is find a bunch of titles. This is factory work, right? If you put the wheels on here and then you put the fenders on here, that's factory work. You're just moving a car through the factory. Well, here you're doing the same thing. You're moving the RFI through. You don't want to find an opportunity, click on the PWS, because you'll waste too much time going into the PWS. The morning task is just about finding ones that are a good fit. And then if you still got some time, then you can click on the PWS to get a little quick description at the task area. The idea is to find ones you like and set it aside and say, I'm going to come back later in the day or tomorrow and dive into that. So the first task, track new RFIs every morning. The second one is engage on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's the only professional network out there. YouTube's good, Twitter, Facebook, they're all existing out there, but LinkedIn is the only professional network that allows us to engage with each other. And so when you think about the professional community, this is where we're at. This is where you can find teammates, like the people who are in the training right here. This is where you can find federal buyers. I'll show you in a second. Federal buyers engage on here. And I'm talking about from like the mid-level up to the senior level, right? Sometimes the junior level hasn't quite discovered it yet, but that's okay, because they tend not to be your buyers. But these mid to high level people are on here. When I say engagement, I'll go show you a quick little doing it. But when I say engagement, I'm talking about you can give a thumbs up, or you can comment on something with a relevant comment, not AI generated. And then you can repost their content so it goes out to their feed. The other thing I just put here as a bullet is when you start finding things you like, you can create a saved search. I'm not going to show you really quick. Coincidentally, my sister, Cecilia McDonald, who you see in here sometimes, she's been doing a whole LinkedIn coaching training stuff. So if you ever want that, you can reach out to her directly. But let me show you what I mean about engagement. If I just take this one as an example, no, let's go to a real one, PEO EIS. So PEO EIS is an Army program executive office. So I'm going to click here for post. I'm just looking for post. So when I say engage, I want to engage on people's content. This first one I can see already, it's not even PEO. It's just similar, but it's not it. So if I start coming up though, right here, well, this was a long time ago, right? And so I'm going to actually change this and see if they've done anything in the past week. Come on, PE. Okay, you're killing me, guys. Let me do this and see if I can get lucky. No, so, well, here you go. PEO soldiers. I don't know what this one is, but actually I'll show you just by clicking on it. Now I'm able to go into this program executive office for soldiers. So this is, I'm assuming, all things that the soldiers carrying, et cetera. But if I come in here, I can see these posts right down here. And, this was 5 days ago. So engagement that I talked about is pretty simple. I can hit a like, right? By the way, when you're here, don't forget there's different things like generally insightful. If somebody shares something that's insightful, you can put that in and it differentiates yourself. I'm going to look here really quick. Our team was on the ground in Kuwait. See firsthand how soldiers are using and modifying the gear to meet mission demands. The value intel. So here, right? This is a post. I want to start building relationships, right? And I was in the Army. If you could do something like this, it doesn't have to be the Army, but you can do somewhere else. It's like, this is great. I remember when I was in the Rangers, we bought our own sewing machine. This little sewing machine to create new gear to carry more M60 rounds. That's a little flashback for you, right? Anyways, I just put it in and now I've engaged in a comment, but it's relevant, right? And then if I put repost, see how it says with your thoughts or repost instantly? Always do repost instantly. This is good behavior on LinkedIn because now I'm sending this post, if I wanted to, I'm sending this post to my feed, but I'm sending my network back to PEO PEO soldiers, right? And so that's an important thing just in understanding this. But look right here. Here's Jesse is the Program Executive Office of Special Operations Forces. I think we probably have somebody in here right now who wants to be in SOCOM or is in SOCOM and wants to go more, right? And so see these things? I'm just going to give Jesse a thumbs up and that a thumbs up, and now I've engaged, right? That took a very minimal amount of time. Let me get back to my slides. And the idea here is you're just engaging, right? And so here I put 15 minutes that I can get out there and keep engaging. I'll do a whole other broader thing on LinkedIn, but engage on LinkedIn. The next tip, just tracking my time. Oh, before I go to the next tip, I did want to sit there and say thank you to our sponsors, Graham, Steel Toed, Silk River. These companies are sponsoring the LinkedIn Lives that I do. They're helping me make this possible to bring this training to you. And I bring it to you almost every single business day, including holidays, because it's a work day for some of us. But Graham, they do staffing and American Sign Language services. So check them out for that need. Steel Toed does cybersecurity and CMMC. In particular, check them out if you're thinking about getting CMMC certified to work in the DoD. And then Silk River Capital is a small business lender specializing in the federal space. So check these guys out. Give them a little thank you in the chat, maybe thanks to the sponsors, and let them know we appreciate them helping us make this happen. Okay, so the third task in the morning is to contact people. This is outreach. If you've ever seen me talk about my 7-step process for federal revenue success, it's research, targeting, outreach leads to relationships, opportunities, proposals, and sales. And so this outreach portion is where you're having cold calling being done in your first couple of meetings. That all begins with you starting with a brand new person. So the first bullet I have here relates to the second step of the process, targeting. Have a running target list of 200 people. A spreadsheet is fine. I don't even waste my time putting it in an official CRM. If I've got a bunch of leads, the only people going into my CRM are people related to a specific pipeline on purpose, or people I have talked to even a little bit so I can start taking notes. But if I've got 100 people who I never hear back from, I don't need to crowd my CRM. And that's customer relationship management tool, just a formal tool to track people. All right, so have a running target list of 200 people. If I'm trying to target the Army, then I'm going to build a list of 200 people in there. These people can be federal buyers like contracting officers or small business specialists or program office people. It can be industry, small business winners, large winners. I just gather that group of people, and you can go watch previous training where I talk about this, but I have that list of people and they're broadly across all different stakeholder groups. The third bullet here is make sure you're targeting one agency. Too often we're trying to go into DHS and the Army and Department of Education or wherever, and that's not good for sales. Sales needs to be targeted. In sales, we tend to have regions. If we're not doing federal sales, we have regions, and so you're responsible. You get San Francisco, let's say, or Marin County, which is just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. You have regions, and your job is to sell within there. And sometimes people are like, well, I want to sell over there. There's more folks. It's like, no, your job is to get the money out of here. And for us, we want to do that to ourselves. We want to say, where do I want to go? The Army? Okay, let me find 200 people or 500 people in the Army and begin to find the people who I can build relationships with that will lead me to the opportunities. You don't just hear about opportunities in SAM, right? You hear about it from people. And so you want to make sure you target one agency. They feed off each other. Every time you talk to somebody, they might tell you something that's relevant for the next call. Fourth, send an email to them. This is your morning task, right? Just spend a minute to send them a template email that you change up a little bit for them. You personalize it, but send them an email asking for an intro call. Just want to get 15 minutes of your time, quick introduction. And then leave a voicemail as well. You can call them one day. Another day you can say, hey, today I'm going to do 5 voicemails. But just call 5 people. It's 25 people in a week. When you multiply that over 52 weeks, that's a lot of people, right? And so now you're adding new people into your world. The next tip is something similar, but do this with existing contacts. And so these are people you already have some level of relationship with. You've met them before, or maybe you've traded a couple of messages back and forth. Well, these are people you want to maintain relationships with. And that's really important because a relationship in the professional world is no different than a relationship in our personal world, right? If we meet at a bar and we say hi, and then somewhere along the lines we're dating and getting married, well, all along you're building that relationship. You're building trust. You're getting to know, like, and well, in that case, love each other, but know, like, and trust each other. As you do that, that comes from continuous engagement, and you want to be engaging with the people you want to have relationships with 20, 40, 60 times before you really get to that point where, like one of my friends, professional contact, he works at a large $1 billion firm. I haven't talked to him in like 3 months or more. And when we get on, it'll be as if we haven't talked, or we talked yesterday or something. Well, I can reach out to him. Hey, Kent, just checking in, see how it's going. No particular agenda. And then we always end up talking about, what are you doing? What am I doing? Can we help each other? And you kind of restart your relationship a little bit there. We'll do that same thing to maintain your existing relationships. I want you to really put together a list of 50 people. And if you're newer to this, don't worry about having 50 at the moment, but start building a list of 50 people you'd like to have a relationship with. I might know that there's this person at this agency and they're friendly and we're able to talk. I'm like, boom, you're on the list. I'm going to follow up with you every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, just to stay in touch. I might go out to LinkedIn, right? You just saw me engage on LinkedIn, and I saw that PEO of SOCOM in there, or special operations, right? I might try to engage him, and pretty soon, if he engages me back, we're starting to slowly build that relationship. I might try to get an intro call. Now he's on my list of a hot list of somebody I want to be paying attention to. And it's like, hey, James or whatever his name was, can we touch base? Can I follow back up? Pretty soon, it'll just be easy to do. I provided a tip here about sometimes you can just reach out to somebody, and something as simple. It's a great way to kind of begin your sentences. I saw this and I thought of you, or I was just thinking of you the other day. It's a great way to begin an outreach to somebody you know. They just feel good. If you said that to me, it's like, Neil, I was thinking of you the other day, and I thought I'd give you a call. I'm like, oh, cool. Somebody was thinking of me. It feels good. It's just, I don't know the psychology behind it, right? But it just feels good. But it's also an easy way to think about it because you are thinking about them. I got you on my hot list. I want to maintain this relationship. There's no fakeness on this. I know that I want to maintain the relationship. I'm just not letting it be ad hoc. I'm doing it strategically. The next bullet is send an email or make a phone call. So this is pretty straightforward, but from a tasking perspective in the mornings, you can do that, right? Send an email, 5 emails to 5 people and you're done. Hey, Kent, I just want to touch base. Why don't we jump on the phone tomorrow or next week or something, right? And then you can make a phone call. Phone calls are always great to people you already have a relationship with because they're probably going to answer. It's like, oh, hey, Jay, how's it going? And then the last bullet is this can be related to capture as well. I'm generally talking about just maintaining relationships that are out there. This is very good for sales. This is your network, but this is your, let's call it your tighter network, if you will. But you can also make this activity about people you have related to capture. So when I teach capture and I've got my pipeline, one of the most important fields in the pipeline are points of contact. If you don't have people in that that opportunity, like 5 or 10 people, then I know that you're not really doing capture. You can't do capture without people. And so I could look in there and say, you know what, today I'm just going to call 5 people related to my opportunities. And I don't want to get distracted in my morning hours. So I'm just going to send them an email and say, hey, can we get on the call for 10 minutes? These are things you can do to reach out to 5 people. And the last tip here is, this is something else you can do in the morning. This is in particular if you're a business that's got a contract vehicle like GSA Mass, but respond to every single opportunity that is in GSA Mass. If you've got a schedule and you log on, you're going to see all these opportunities. And too often we just leave them in there. We don't do anything with them. And what I want you to do is to respond to every one of those. And you can do this on Seaport Next Gen or other contract vehicles that have similar type portals where you're able to see all the opportunities. If they give you a chance to engage on it, engage on it. So an example would be inside of eBuy. So this is the GSA Mass schedule if you're not familiar. But if you go to eBuy, you will see that there's RFIs or RFQs and RFPs. And so the idea is when that list is there, it allows you to sit there and have a response. And so if you look at the bottom bullet, my favorite responses are, I like to put interested on the ones I'm coming down. I'm like, oh, I'm interested. I'm just letting them know I'm interested in this thing, because this tool is a back and forth communication with the contracting shop, right? The contracting shop and GSA and us are all engaged on this thing. So I want to say I'm interested. Not many people do that. So you're kind of standing out. Doesn't mean they're going to come give you the contract, but it's marketing, it's engagement. Another one I'm a big fan of doing is writing, clicking on the no quote. And it has different reasons, but my favorite reason to choose is other, because when you choose other, it's got a block of text and it says, why aren't you going after this? And I say other, because I don't want to say we can't do the work or something. And when I choose other, I say, I would have gone after if it was more SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint related. That's our core competency. Thanks anyways. I write that. And it's so simple. It's not some sort of big, oh, you do this and you're going to get some magical thing. But it's just engaging back to the KO going, or the contract officer, why isn't this company or why aren't companies responding to my opportunity? Hey, I love it. It's just not what I want. And now I'm telling them what I do. And if they happen to have another opportunity there, if I get lucky, it does it. But how long does that take me? Literally like 30 seconds to respond to an opportunity that says, hey, no, I'm not going to respond because I'm really looking for opportunities like this, but thanks. It's just a simple way to engage. And so engaging with the KO and the contracting shop can be done by responding on their portal. This back and forth communication is very important to building relationships. Let me see what time it is really quick. So I'll give you a quick little story. Man, I got bad eyes. But I've had somebody do this kind of stuff where the contracting officer is coming back saying, you always respond. I want to find an opportunity. They're not going to give them something they don't deserve, but they're like, I want to find something, or maybe my colleague has something that is aligned to you. Well, they can't do that unless they know what you sell. And so this little tip on engagement is just one way that you can do in the morning to get out there and be visible to the buyer. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. First thing is know what's the most important thing for you to be working on in the day. Right? I gave you some suggestions on there, but it's important to weave in what's really important to you. And I think those activities are important activities that sometimes get pushed aside. So the second thing is, don't forget Mark Twain says, we got to eat that frog in the morning if that's our job. And in sales, reaching out to other people, that's our job. And so eat that frog first thing in the morning. And the last thing is time block that. I have meetings recurring meetings at 9 and 9:30. And so I might time block 8 to 9 and do this kind of thing. You want to do that same thing. Hopefully you found this valuable. If you did, again, put eat the frog into the chat for the fun of it, or I'm eating the frog. Either way, have fun with that. Tomorrow's training, don't forget, is going to be on teaming partners. So if you're looking for tips on how to find and develop relationships with teaming partners, come on back for that. And just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. It's 12:30. I'm out of here. I will see you in the next training.